What's up, FNGs? This is Airsoft NCT, and welcome to the part 2 of my favorite Vietnam War personal items, but this time, we're taking a look at some of my favorite GI items. What I mean by that is that we're going to be taking a look at some of my favorite GI type items, such as things that I have found that are particularly useful that were made by the US military, or some things that just look really cool on display. Now, I think it would only be fitting to start with one thing that I'm actually wearing right now. That's the muslin bandage. The muslin bandage was used for a lot of different things. Sometimes it's called a cravat, and SOG teams would use this as a belt. It could be used as a handkerchief. It could also be used, what it's really meant to be used for, a bandage. Now, I like to use these to keep the sweat off my face, whether that's just dabbing it off my face or wrapping this around my head and putting it under my helmet. The next piece that I found really useful is the World War II style toiletry roll. Now, this is a reproduction made by Joe Sabia of Sergeant Martin Military Surplus, good friend of mine, and he does really incredible work with these. This is filled with some modern equipment. I would not necessarily use all of this stuff for a reenactment, but it goes to show. I've actually used this thing whenever I've traveled all over the world because this is just such a useful and really cool piece. You've got the strings, you've got a hanging tap, you have an external pocket, plenty of internal pockets. You can include a small mirror for an additional charge, and this is just a really useful piece that you can hang up, do your morning routine, and then get going. Speaking of holding things, let's talk about probably one of my favorite pieces on this list, and that is the M18A1 Claymore bag. This particular piece is a period piece with the solid buttons, not the donut hole ones that you'll see a lot of reenactors using, but this is a very nice original example. In addition to using this for the Claymore, a lot of soldiers would use this to carry canteens because, in fact, it does fit one quart in each pocket pretty perfectly. And here's a look at the instruction manual, pretty fresh. Now, at every Bay event that I've attended, I have had at least one of these on my person almost at all times because not only is it period, but especially for the 173rd, these were useful pieces to have quick access on the back of the rucksacks or to carry things on their side. The next piece that I found really useful and is actually a really common item is the MX991/U. Got that right? Yeah, MX991/U. And that is the USGI angle head flashlight. Now, this design has seen very few alterations from its original introduction, but this piece is just a really solid period piece that works. Mine is kind of interesting though, in that the original owner removed this midsection. It is made by USA Light, and it has a bottom that I've actually never seen before. I couldn't really find any other pictures of it. I don't even know if other USA Light models look like that on the bottom, but it's definitely non-standard. But it works, it fits the impression, and is just kind of a little unique piece. Now, before we get to the 4 big ones, let's get to a few small ones that are either just cool pieces or that I have found useful. The first of which being a USGI pocket knife. Now, this one is 80s dated, but the design is identical to the one issued to soldiers throughout the Vietnam War, and it has a multitude of tools, including knives, can openers, you got filers in here, there's a whole bunch, and this is a great little piece. You can find these relatively inexpensive if you know where to look, but otherwise you'll be paying a decent, kind of mid-level price on eBay. Next bit is something that is super cheap and not really US Army. This is a Mitchell pattern strap that has a buckle on the end, kind of just a retention strap. A cool little piece that I have used to just hold stuff together, kind of like my bedroll. Just a great little cheap thing that I have found useful. Next small thing is one of these carabiners. You can find 70s dated ones, relatively inexpensive, relatively commonly, but I'm still on the hunt for a 60s one. Those are a little bit harder to find, and especially at a good price. These are actually getting much more expensive lately, but this is just one of the oval carabiners. These are pretty prevalent in the airborne kits, and I also do use them for my MACV SOG loadout. Last of the small things are C-rats. So these are only small little parts of it. These are actually all just B units with the exception of one thing on top, but these are just great little pieces to have on my bunk setup that look really cool. Some of the ones that I have include a fruitcake, I have ham and eggs chopped, I have a crackers and candy B1 unit, I have date pudding, which I'm surprised it hasn't worn through it yet, and this one's actually from 1966, kind of cool. And then I have a 71 chocolate nut roll. Last one I have is some peanut butter here. I do have to ask the captain if I can take this on patrol though. Now these last 4 are pretty big, and some of them are a little bit harder to find than others nowadays, but these are 4 pieces that I have found incredibly useful, and I will never go to a reenactment without them. The first thing you see right here is my M60 ammo can. This is a 7.62 ammo can, and the reason I know it's for an M60 is because up top it says 4MG M60. So being in Frucci Squad, I kind of feel like I have to have this. Always reminds me of him. But this is a really cool piece that keeps gear and kind of personal items dry and in a safe and stowed away location. The next thing is something that is a small part of a bigger thing, but that is my desk stool. This right here is one small part of the entire USGI desk system, but this is the only part that I have, and it's the only part that I need. In fact, Liam from Broken Arrow Events has the other bit of this. But this is a really cool little, kind of easy to set up, easy to store away stool that I have used on countless occasions, whether I'm just slipping on my boots or hanging out in the Bamboo Viper. This particular example, as you can see, was issued to the 104th Engineering and is dated 1969. Now these last two items I would love to bring up on the table to show you, but I can't really be in the frame and have them on the table at the same time, so let's take a look at these off camera. So this right here is my 1979 dated Mermite, and I know it's not period dated, but this piece is an absolutely amazing addition to my reenactment setup. On top of keeping some extra water cold, I get to keep ice cold Cokes and orange sodas for me and my bunkmates. My favorite part about this is that not only did I get it for a killer price at $40, but the rubber gasket is in great shape. And last, but certainly not least, is the footlocker. Now this right here is a 43 dated USGI footlocker that has been instrumental in keeping me and my bunk setup very organized. It is a little bit worse for wear, but overall it's not in half bad shape. So there you have it, guys. This is some of my favorite GI items that I bring to Vietnam games. This is Airsoft NCT, and we'll see you in the next one.